Schmo with the pro Xtreme Couture's Eric Nicksick. Earn the boats inside your office. How we doing?
I'm doing well, Schmo. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, long time no talk. The Schmo's always seeing you inside the gym. I see that you put this piece of glass. It's a nice piece of glass inside the office.
It's a little outdated, though. 2020, you know?
Listen, it's the one and only, because the one time the Schmo gave this to the coach of the year, we got a lot of flack. All the other coaches, what about me? What about me? But, Coach, you're the one and only that the Schmo made Team of the Year award for. There you go.
There's a lot about what about me's, but not a lot about working harder, you know? Work harder.
Speaking about working harder, what we just saw, the first UFC fight night of 2023, UFC Vegas 67, 3 in a row, the trifecta, the co-main, the main, and the one right before. You're a busy man.
No, we did good, man. I'm obviously bummed for Puna. It's not a perfect night, but, super, super happy for Dan. And then, Sean Strickland actually listened.
Sean Strickland did listen. Would you really kick him out of the gym if he didn't listen?
That was it. It was a fucking rap if he didn't do it. So he listened. Here's what I said to him. We had a compromise. Give me 20 seconds of listening between rounds. 20 seconds. I didn't need a whole minute. Just give me 20 and shit, he did it.
He's a well-rounded fighter. It wasn't just about the man dance. He pressed him against the corner. We actually saw some kicks out of Sean Strickland this fight.
You were there when we were breaking it down. You were at practice that day, and you saw we went over the list of everything. I thought the game plan was pretty cut and dry if he was able to execute some of the things. The one thing we didn't see that I kind of wish he would have done more of was the low calf kick. We didn't do that, but the pressing to the cage, the inside-outside trips, I think he could have gone to that a little bit better. But shit, everything else, he did well.
He weighed in over 10 pounds more than Imavov. They wanted the fight at 205, not 195, no catch weight.
I was surprised. I think that might have been maybe a bad decision on their end to not make us try to cut the weight down to at least 195. Sean was walking about 212. We would have taken the fight at 195, but we offered 205 first. They said, sure, we'll take it at 205. So we're like, all right, it's on, let's do it.
And let's talk about Dan Ige, 50K. He's back in his winning ways. He was coming off 3 straight losses, but he didn't seem to have any pressure on his shoulders when the Schmo spoke to him earlier in the week. Why did Dan Ige stay so calm, especially when he had his brother Puna Soriano fighting right before, who didn't get the result he was looking for?
I mean, honest to God, I think that this fight, this camp was just all about Dan. And he left any of that pressure aside. He focused on himself. He did everything right. And we talk about that. We talk about that a lot with all of our fighters is, check all the boxes, leave no crumbs behind. And no matter what, win, lose, or draw, when you go back to the table and say, look, man, I left no crumbs behind. I know the result maybe didn't add up the way it was in the cage, but I did everything in my power leading up to. That's Dan Ige time in and time out, So I just knew, man, that this kid was on a different level. And when he was going to go in there right away, right when I saw like the body language of Damon Jackson, I knew that this guy was in for a long night.
And he certainly performed, but let's talk about the big news right now. Over the Schmo's left shoulder, we got that infamous photo of the heavyweight champion of the world, Francis Ngannou. You got Kamaru Usman in there too with his belt. You got Dewey Cooper, but now Francis Ngannou, he's no longer a part of the UFC. Shocked or not shocked? You kind of knew this was coming, Coach.
I was 50-50 on the whole thing. I'm an optimistic guy. I was hoping things would get done and get done the right way, but unfortunately it didn't. But I know Francis is going to be on to bigger and better things, and I'm proud of him, man. I'm happy for him. He stood his ground. He knew what he wanted, and he didn't budge on what he wanted. So kudos to him. The money was there, and that's not what moves him. It wasn't the money that was moving him. It was other things, other terms, some sticking points that he just couldn't waver on. So kudos to him. This is what he wanted, and that's why I love the guy.
Do you think he wanted to box before he defended the heavyweight championship? Maybe it was a Tyson Fury?
No, not necessarily. This is something that actually when he got back in the gym and he was full healthy with the knee and we started working, he said to me legit, like, I love the fact that I can kick, I can wrestle, I can put a full MMA skill set together. He goes, I like that this is what I miss the most about MMA. But now that, if he wants to go in and box, he's going to focus on that one skill set. I think whoever comes to the table with the most amount of money, whatever that he feels is right for him, if it's MMA or boxing, he's going to be ready for it.
Boxing is important to Francis, though. He really wanted to have that involved, maybe in the contract or not in the contract.
Yeah, I think that's something that was definitely a sticking point for him, that he wanted the opportunity to be able to box. I think the definition of independent contractor and employee was something that he just wasn't comfortable with. He wanted that opportunity to be able to if somebody came along was a higher bidder, he wanted to be able to take that opportunity.
From a coaching standpoint, is there a level of disappointment that you can't fight against who's the consensus greatest mixed martial artist of all time, Jon Bones Jones?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that part's always gonna bother me in the competitive side. Because Jon Jones is the GOAT to me. He's number one, and I think Khabib is right behind him. It's 1A and 1B, if you're asking my opinion. So the competitor in me, yes, I'm always going to wish that we had that opportunity to put a game plan together to go execute against who I think is the best to ever do it. So yeah, that's going to bug. But at the end of the day, man, that opportunity might still be on the table later on down the line.
Was there ever a fight camp prepared with Francis and Jon Jones, assuming that the UFC and Francis Ngannou would get a deal done?
No, we never really got into camp, but obviously I have all my notepads and everything else. I mean, we've had really 2 years to prepare, because after Stipe, remember the fight that we thought was going to be made was Jon Jones and Francis. So there was a lot of studying and stuff, but those things never go by the wayside. I get to learn, and really I learned a lot by watching Jon and watching like his feint game and his angles and the way he creates his openings and things like that. So I got to learn from watching, one of the best to ever do it. And, that stuff will never go away.
So Francis Ngannou, the last time he was out, he defended his heavyweight title essentially on one leg, and he won with his wrestling against the guy who's now fighting for the heavyweight title against Jon Bones Jones. Do you favor one man over the other, Coach?
If you're asking me if I were to, I'm not allowed to bet on this, but
make that clear.
Yeah, okay, so let's look at it like this: the gap in skill sets, right? As a coach, you want to break down each fighter, your fighter included, and whoever you're going against, and find any gaps between skill sets. Well, the gap in skill set right now is quite evident in Ciryl Gane's wrestling, and I don't think Ciryl Gane's going to have enough time to shore that gap up to be able to wrestle with a guy like Jon Jones, in my opinion. So if I'm in the Jon Jones camp, there's a lot of ways I think that they're going to approach this fight, and a lot of ways I think that they can wrestle efficiently and do things to be able to take Ciryl Gane down. And look, I didn't see a way that Ciryl was doing to get up in the right way. So if he gets taken down over and over and over, Cyryl's striking is beautiful. Why flip a coin and make it a 50-50 fight when you can take a guy down and make the odds really more in your favor? So, and on the Ciryl Gane aspect, I think that they really have to go back to the drawing board and try to figure out how to wrestle correctly and frame off and redirect and not get into those underhook battles where, those are how a lot of times you get tied up. So they have time. They have time to figure that out. And I think, Coach Lopez and those guys are on the right track, and I think it's going to be a good fight. But if you're asking me who I think wins, I got to lean toward Jon.
Student of the game, multiple decades watching mixed martial arts. When you look at the landscape out there in other mixed martial arts promotions, specifically in the heavyweight division, do you think there's enough competition out there for Francis Ngannou?
Yeah, I do. I think ONE FC, I think they have a lot of depth in their heavyweight division. I think PFL does as well. I think they have some good depth, but I think if you're outside of the UFC, to me, it's probably one. Bellator has some names, of course. So I think you can make some good matchups there, but I think talent-wise, depth and talent, it's one, in my opinion.
Wow, what about Bareknuckle? Does that interest Francis Ngannou? No gloves, a lot of cuts, a lot of blood?
I mean, I guess if the dollar signs are right, but I mean, who's going to sign off on that insurance policy if putting Francis in there with Bareknuckle on anybody? I don't know who's going to want to fight that guy in Bareknuckle at all, but we'll see.
Hefty price to pay.
Big time.
So the fight that got away with the UFC in the heavyweight division a long time ago was Fedor Emelianenko. Do you think this one's going to bite them in the butt more so than that one as time goes on?
I don't know, and I don't wish that. I don't hope that at all. I think the UFC is great at what they do. They're a machine. They're going to keep churning them out. They got talent everywhere. And to me, the heavyweight division is one of the deepest it's been in a long time. I think you're starting to see that now. So there's some interesting matchups that they're going to be able to make. And, I know they wanted to get that fight off and running. I knew that it sounded right, the timeline for March 4th to get this, the division needs to be moving, so they're going to be doing something here soon. So, I think it all makes sense right now for them.
So what can we expect out of you, Coach Eric Nicksick? It's a big 2023. You're off to a great start. What can we expect out of you in Xtreme Couture?
You know, you're going to see me on the mats and in the office, just grinding, doing my thing. You know, we have a lot of good things coming up right now. Guys fighting out in Brazil. We got Cody Stamen out in Brazil. We'll have some more guys coming up. Everybody's getting booked right now. You know, obviously Patchy is fighting Rafion. I coach Rafion. Patchy's in the final.
That's a crazy thing going on here.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and it's something we all sat down and talked about prior. It's like, you know, I never coached Patchy, but he's a teammate of ours. But I've coached Raf. But all the while, I'm so happy that both guys are in the finals because they both have the opportunity to make a lot of money and win the belt and change their families' lives. So super happy for both of those guys. You know, we have Jeremy Kennedy fighting for a challenge, basically a title eliminator out in Ireland in February. So there's a lot of good things coming up in the Schmo.
Certainly are. You got the sleeping bag and the pillows in the corner. Sometimes you never leave this office.
I'm here quite a bit. Yep.
Can we get a final message for all the Eric Nicksick fans out there worldwide?
You know, just keep plugging away, man. Burn those boats. Good things will happen.
He's the pro. I'm the Schmo. Inside his office, Xtreme Couture. We're out.